here. I wanted to just say hello and spend another couple of minutes with everybody if they decide to stop by and chat with me. While we are waiting for people to jump in, I thought I would talk about one of the things that I see the most as a clarinet teacher, and that is the need for speed. People do love playing fast. They want to play fast. It is always something that we always want to do. We want to pick up our instruments and just keep on going and play as fast as we can. And, unfortunately, if playing as fast as we can ends up being playing faster than we can. And that's where it gets sloppy and people make mistakes. So it is that age old advice that we get is that practice slowly, practice with intention, practice while you're thinking. So my top advice for practicing efficiently, it's not about how much time you put in, it's about how you put the time in. So you want to go very, very methodically and intentionally when you practice. If you feel that your mind is wandering or you can't really think about what you're doing, that's when it's time to stop and take a break, take a walk, play a video game, do something else. So what I recommend is starting with some nice warm-ups. If you find that your mind gets distracted while you play warm-ups, it's a great opportunity for you to grab some anchors. And what I mean by that is you could put on some backing tracks and you can play along with those. You could play with some drum machines. You can make a whole, palette of drum machine sounds and you can play along with that. I like to play along with a drone with my tuner. So it gives my mind something to latch onto, but it also is helping me with my intonation and my listening skills as well. Some people like to play along with a piece of music. So there's some great old clarinet warm-ups out there that you actually are playing a song. So you're playing really nice and slow, these beautiful long melodies. And those also work really nicely with a drone, or if you want to do any kind of backing tracks with those too. So that's just sort of to get you into the zone of practicing with your brain, but it also is to get you there with your mind too. So it gets your mind in there. It gets your embouchure in there. You can focus on your breathing. You can do this whole body playing. It's one of those cool things about playing a wind instrument. It's really a whole body kind of playing that we do because our air is what makes our instruments vibrate. So it's really all of us. So you want those feet flat on the ground. You want good hand position. You want good posture so that you can get in there and you can breathe into it. So welcome to the people that are just joining me now. Please ask your questions. So if you have any clarinet questions, any music questions, ask me. Meaning of life questions, ask me. But yes, I'm here for you to answer your questions, and I'd love to see some of them. And right now, for people that are just joining us, I was talking about practicing, getting into the zone of practicing, but it really is about intentional practicing and not about time, right? So now you've done your nice warm up. I can sometimes put a timer on for 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how much I want to be warming up that day, depending how busy I am. And once I get through that, then I work on the things that I need to work on. So if I am working on a piece of music, it's lovely to start in the beginning. It's great. We are all happy there. And that's usually where we play the strongest. And okay, wonderful. Clary Jazz, I'll answer your question in a second. So when we are playing pieces of music and we are learning them, I like to recommend doing it like you're reading a book. So have a bookmark. I have a Post-it note. So I will start in the beginning of the piece when I am learning the beginning of the piece, and then I will move my bookmark down on the page to my next section that I'm going to start my practice section in, because otherwise I will just keep returning to the beginning over and over and over again. If I feel like I need a break or I want to treat myself to something nice, I'll play the beginning, which I'm usually much stronger at, or I'll play a part that I'm really good at. So try this bookmark technique and let me know how it goes so that you can move through your piece just like you're translating a novel, just like you are learning a math problem, right? You want to keep moving through it. So Clary Jazz asks, Yamaha 255 or Bakun Alpha for beginners? This is a great question. I love answering equipment questions, especially when it's great equipment choices. And I will give the answer that I give everybody, and my students kind of laugh when I do this. A lot of times when somebody asks me a yes or no question, I give these long, elaborate answers, and you're not going to get an easy answer out of me. So I'm going to give you, once again, an infamous Katina elaborate answer to your question, Clary Jazz. You're going to pick the instrument that works the best for you. I recommend trying the Yamaha 255 and trying the Bakun Alpha. it's going to get worse, I recommend trying a couple of each. So maybe 2 or 3 of each Yamaha 255 or each Bakun Alpha. Oh, and it's going to get worse than that. You also may want to try a couple instruments within that range of whatever you're going for. So you're asking for beginners. So I would stick with anything in the Yamaha 255 range or the Bakun Alpha range within Bakun and with Yamaha, and try those out. You may also want to try other companies like Buffet and Ubul and other people that are out there. So that's my overall statement when I talk about trying out instruments, and this goes for all equipment too. Let's focus on the Yamaha 255 or the Bakun Alpha. So what I love about the Yamahas, they are really in tune. They are wonderful instruments for intonation. So they are great overall instruments, but really, really good for beginners because of that. You're going to work a lot less hard with the intonation with a Yamaha 255. Bakuns also have great intonation too, but I have found personally that the Yamahas just are more consistent for me. That doesn't mean that's going to be the same for you. It also doesn't mean it's going to be the same for you with your mouthpiece. So all of these components go into it as well. So let's just take a moment to pause there. If you are trying out clarinets, make sure that you're trying out with the best mouthpiece that you have. Definitely not a stock mouthpiece. Unless, of course, it's the Yamaha stock mouthpiece, and those are actually not so bad. But most stock mouthpieces aren't fantastic. I think clarinet companies are listening to us now, and they're getting better stock mouthpieces. But if you have a Phobes Debut, or if you have a D'Addario, or if you have a Van Doren mouthpiece or a Bakun mouthpiece, that's what you're going to want to be using when you try out your instruments. Keep that the same, keep your reed the same. You can move those things around after you start trying a bit, but try and stay as consistent as possible. Bakuns have this beautiful, beautiful dark sound that I really love. And so that's one of the things that I like about the Bakuns. They have this just beautiful sound to them, very, very rich, nice core in there. They're famous for that. So that's a great clarinet too for sound. Yamahas tend to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more sparkly. So it depends on what you are listening for your own personal sound, but also for the ensembles that you're playing into. So when I was doing a lot of chamber music, I was wanting to match more with strings. So I was picking my equipment based on that, so I could get a nice blend in there too. So Clary Jazz, it's not the easiest thing to answer, but you picked 2 good ones. If you had asked me, some different brands out there, I think the answer is clearer, but those 2, you're going to go, you can't go wrong with either one of them. Make sure though that when you're trying out instruments that you are using a tuner to see where they are in tune with you personally and within the instrument too. And I'm saying this all with the assumption that you can get to a place where you can try a couple clarinets. Sometimes that doesn't work for us. So if you are near any kind of university, check out their music department to see if they have a clarinet day. I just got a notification from Virginia Commonwealth University that they're having a clarinet day. These are great opportunities for you to try out instruments, try out mouthpieces. You can even write to the clarinet teacher there and ask, hey, will there be any Yamaha 255s or Bakun Alphas there for me to try during your clarinet day? Are there any representatives from those companies that will be there so I can try instruments? So look for a clarinet day. They happen at local or not just local universities, any universities that not all of them, but check with their clarinet department, with their music department. If you are near any kind of military band, any base that has a military band, they tend to have instrument days as well. If they don't, so if you have a local clarinet professor at a local college and they don't have a clarinet day, ask them, write them an email and say, hey, I'm really into the clarinet. It's my hobby, or it's my dream, or I want to do this when I have a career or whatever. Ask them if they will consider putting on a clarinet day for you. I would be curious to see. I think they are always looking for opportunities to bring more community into their schools, into their bands, like if it's a military band that's near you. So that's an option for you to try instruments. Also, music stores can order them for you sometimes, and you can try them out that way. And then lastly, you can order them and have them sent to your home and try them out there too. You are definitely going to want to get insurance for that. or check with your credit card company to see if they will insure the clarinets when they send them to you. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. So that's something you're going to want to check into. That's not your ideal situation, is to have them send it to your house, because as I said, you're going to have to charge them on your credit card, and they will do the whole price, and then you return them and you get your refund. Okay, so it looks like you're about to write something, Clary Jazz. I just got the I'm. So yeah, so if you can say where you're located, I might have some more advice for, where you can try out some instruments. So for the people that just joined us, like I said earlier, please ask questions if you have anything you're curious about with clarinets or clarinet playing or music in general, life in general. Go ahead and ask away. Okay, so you're in UK. The other place that you could possibly ask would be if you're in some of the clarinet groups on Facebook. There's one called I think it's Clariquality, CLAR and then EQUALITY, Clariquality. That's a really nice welcoming community. You could post in there. Are there any clarinet days coming up, clarinet events coming up near where I am? I'm not as familiar with UK music stores as I am with American music stores. We used to have a lot of local shops, a lot of mom and pop shops, but they've sort of been obliterated by music and art, so we don't have as many of those anymore. Yeah, so those are basically my answers for your questions about trying out instruments. And before you got here, if there are people here that don't have any questions, I was just talking about some practice techniques. So do you guys have any of your own favorite practice techniques? You can put them in the chat. Mine are really going slow. I really like to go slow, but I also like to pull apart the notes and just put them together like little puzzle pieces. So if I have a lot of groups of 16th notes, I will do them like big long runs of 16th notes. I will do them in chunks, 4 16th notes at a time. And then the spots where I have mistakes, that's where I'm going to stop. And I'm going to just fix that one note. So whatever that last note was, the note that I had trouble landing on, I'm going to play that note all by itself. Then I'll play the note before it to get into it. Then I'll go back 2, then I'll go back 3, then I'll go back 4 until I build back into it. And then I'll build away from it. So I've landed on it. I've gotten to a place where I land on it, and then I can go into it. And I found that a lot of my mistakes actually are in anticipation of a future challenge. So it's not necessarily I had trouble getting to that one note that I wasn't landing on well. It was that I was concerned about something else and my mind was thinking too far ahead and I wasn't staying in the moment. So then I'll build backwards from that spot. And that's my way of practicing these groups of runs. It's not a lot of mindless repetition. It used to be like that for me. I used to be one of those people that would pride myself in how many hours a day I spent practicing. And if I had 6 or 7 hours a day, I felt like I was this champion clarinet player. And as you can imagine, I got a lot of problems from that. I had carpal tunnel and I had early onset arthritis in my shoulder, and all these things came from that, not to mention just the mental toll it took to practice over and over again and not actually focus on a problem solving intentional mentality with practicing. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap up here. If anybody has any questions, oh my gosh, all of a sudden all these people popped on. I can stay on a little bit longer. So for all you newcomers out there, if you have questions about clarinet, music, as I've been joking about life in general, let me know. I will give it a couple more minutes and then I will head out and go enjoy my dinner with my family. But I like seeing everybody here, and I do. Oh, Michael O'Brien's here. Hello. And yes, Michael, do you have any questions? I know we talked about barrels last week, and I don't know if you were here for the Yamaha compared to the Bakun conversation. That was what we were talking about earlier. And then I was just sort of giving some of my favorite practice tips for people that are just joining us. And I asked for people to share some of theirs. I'm always curious about what other people do to practice. I have, you get kind of set in your ways of what works for you, and it's neat to see what other people do. But the big one I've learned in my years and years of playing the clarinet is if I can get it done in the most efficient way possible, then I've done my practicing well. Michael, yes, I sent you an email. We can definitely do a short lesson this week. I'm available. This is a good week. Last week was a very busy week. Oh, we've got David from Belgium. And for those of you that don't know, I am in the US. I'm not too far from Washington, D.C. I used to live in New York City, and I used to live in Miami. I used to live in all these fun places. Yeah, so it's nice to see people from all over. And as Michael asked, as you can see, I also do teach clarinet lessons online. So if people are interested in working with me, I am available. Yeah, Michael, so check your email. You got an email from me. And yeah, I think this is maybe a good place to wrap it up. I will take 10 seconds for any last minute questions. I'm going to count down. So if you've got anything that you're dying to know about clarinet playing, me, clarinet life, anything like that, here we go. 10 seconds. 10. All right. Just pick a day. I will. All right. I'll send it to you. All right. Everybody else, 10, 9. All right, Eddie. I have played 10 minutes, take a 5-minute break until I hit 30 minutes. Yeah, that's also really good for people that have brains like mine. I definitely have late diagnosed attention deficit disorder. I didn't know that was what it was. All I knew is that it was very hard for me to concentrate on things. So I highly recommend this style of practicing that Eddie just said. Try the 10 minutes. So if it's hard for you to get practicing, give yourself 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Sometimes even just putting the clarinet together for me is a huge ordeal, right? But then once I've got that clarinet together, then I'm more likely to practice. I use a lot of timers, so that's sort of what kind of keeps me connected. And so I'll do what Eddie says. I'll put on 10 minutes. And then if I'm in the zone and I'm really enjoying myself and I'm getting really good work done, then I'll turn the timer off and I'll keep going. And then I'll stop when it feels natural. But if it's not feeling good, then I'll take that 10-minute break. And for 5 minutes, I'll take a walk. Like I was saying earlier, I'll play a video game. Taking a walk is a big one for me. I like getting outside, getting that fresh air, moving my body, and then I'll come back in. But it's important for me to put a timer on for my breaks. Otherwise, my breaks can be indefinite. So then I'll take a break for like 24 hours or something like that. Oh no, Eddie, you can't get up or you'll forget to continue. I was just about to say that. I have to put the timer on when I take the break. Otherwise, I will go and do something. And it really is amazing for those of you that have it, have ADD or live with somebody that does. It's remarkable how we can get distracted. And so, yes, I have to be very, very careful with my practice sessions and set aside that time. And I have to set aside the whole hour or a whole 30 minutes for the 10-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute, 5-minute routine, right? And so as I would get more into my practice routine, I could extend that practice time though. Then I could get to, 20 minutes done, 30 minutes done. But it really does help to try the 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's excellent advice. So thank you, Eddie, for bringing that up. Really, really good. I'm trying to think of another one that I do. I also keep a pad of paper with me when I practice because I'll remember something, and it doesn't even have to be clarinet related. It can be, oh, I need to put the dishes in the dishwasher, or oh my gosh, I need to pay the gas bill, or I have an audition coming up and I need to send my resume to somebody. Like if I don't write that down on the piece of paper, I try and remember it in my brain. And if I'm remembering it in my brain, then I can't concentrate on what I'm doing. So it's very hard for me to compartmentalize things like that. It's like I have all the tabs open on my computer and it's just sort of draining the battery out. So that's something that that I have found works really well with me, is keeping that pad of paper. I kind of keep it with me all the time. I keep it next to my bed. I keep it in my car, just so that I can have something to note things on so that I remember. Oh, Luke's here too. Oh, this is fun. This is fun to see some of my students here. So yay. So we were just talking about, certain practice techniques. If you have any practice techniques that you want to share, please do. My husband had the coolest one. I had never seen this before. It was really amazing. He had a great big keyboard, one of those old like 1990s keyboards, and he would put it on the backing track for bossa nova, and then he would play his long tones along with that. And I thought that was brilliant, because for somebody like me whose mind tends to wander when I'm playing long tones, Now I would have something to listen to, number one, so that anchors me back into practicing. Number two, it's going to help you with your pulse and your rhythm and your subdividing. And number three, it's really fun. It's just fun to do it. And so that was something that I adopted from him that I started doing, which made my long tone practicing more fun. Of course, also just talking, because I was talking about this in the beginning, the anchoring. Anchoring for me would be, I'm just going to focus on my embouchure and I'm going to build these muscles. I'm just going to focus on my voicing and feel where my air is up here in my nasal cavity. I'm just going to focus on my breathing or my support in my abs or a good hand position. A mirror is amazing to practice in front of, like a full length mirror is great. I also will sometimes use my phone in a pinch now that I have this amazing computer phone that we all love so much here. So those things that I can just focus on one thing at a time. I also would find this would happen to me in orchestra rehearsal. Not so much chamber music rehearsal. Chamber music was really intense because it's so personal. I'm only with 3 or 4 other people. So when you're playing in chamber music, it's very hard, or at least it was hard for me, for my mind to wander because I was so connected with each person there, and I was communicating with each person there. With the music I was playing, but also with my body language and eye contact and things like that. So chamber music, I was really able to focus and stay connected in there. But orchestra, and sometimes in orchestra, we have these swaths of rest, so these really long notes, and that's when I would start to drift away. If I had a whole bunch of like repeated accompaniment, upbeat notes or something like that, those were always hard for me to stay focused on. And in that case, I would go back to what I was talking about with my long tone warm-ups. I would be like, okay, let's focus on my embouchure, or I'm going to focus on my breathing, or focus on my posture, or my air, my abdominal support, right? But I also had this opportunity here in orchestra to play the game of, all right, who am I playing with? I mean, you do it anyway, right? You're working on blending and intonation and your tone and your dynamics when you're playing in an ensemble. But I would also, once I was confident, I was playing my part well with the people I was supposed to be playing with, I would think, okay, who is also playing here that I'm not paying attention to right now? What are the French horns doing? What are the trombones doing? What are the violas doing? And so I would find if my mind was wandering, I could pull it back real fast. I'd be like, okay, we're just going to listen to the violas right now. And that's all saying, of course, I'm still focusing at the same time on the other things I'm supposed to be doing, which is really an amazing technique to be able to have as, somebody with ADD. It's like, okay, I can focus on this and get the job done here, but my mind will also go over here and pay attention to this whole thing there. So those are some of the things that I would do to sort of just kind of stay on track and stay present and stay in the moment that were helpful for me. And the last one that I've said through the years that I really recommend is the poker face. You don't ever want to make any facial expressions. You don't want to give anything away, that, oops, I made a mistake or anything like that. But it's also lovely when I go to a concert and I can see people thoroughly enjoying themselves. So I'm happy to see people smiling. Chamber music, when they're connecting with each other and they're enjoying the moment with each other. I love that stuff. I went to see Elton John a couple of years ago, and God bless it, he had somebody playing like percussion, a lot of the auxiliary percussion. He played the bongos, and this guy was the happiest person I had ever seen in my life. I forget his name. He's super famous. And I just enjoyed the concert so much because he was enjoying the concert so much. So if it's appropriate in the ensemble that you're in, show that you're enjoying yourself, that you are, grateful to be there and connecting, not just with the musicians, but the people in the audience too. Awesome. Very cool. It was nice to see some names I recognize. Eddie says, I play soprano and bass, and if I've played a lot of pieces with whole notes on the bass, I tend to forget to articulate on soprano. Oh, wow. So I do a lot of articulation exercises on soprano. That's interesting. So my question for you, Eddie, is, are your articulations okay on the bass clarinet? Are you still able to articulate well on the bass? And is this just something that happens when you're playing a lot of long whole notes and things like that in the bass, and then you get back to your B flat and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna need to get back to articulating? So if you wanna type that in there, I'm curious about that. And the reason why I'm on alert is that I've seen bass clarinetists not tongue that much, and sometimes they'll do the glottal stop with their throat for their articulation. So they're actually not tonguing, they're just going, you can see that right there. And so I've seen B flat clarinet players do that too, but for some reason I'll see bass clarinetists do it more. So I'm checking in on that. So I just want to make sure that you're articulating okay on the bass clarinet read. And I know I say this a lot. I said it really at the top of the hour. I'm a full supporter of whatever works best for you is what works best. Yet there are some tried and true clarinet techniques that we do, like articulating on the reed and not using the glottal stop, because this can actually, one, it's very hard to do quickly. Two, it's very tiring. And three, it can actually cause like some tense muscles in here and constriction in your throat. Articulation is great on bass, Eddie. Wonderful. Very good. I just wanted to check in on you and make sure you're okay. It's really important. And so, but yeah, so watch out for that. And so for those of you that aren't sure, I want you to double check in on that on your play. Check in on that when you're next playing to make sure you're tonguing on the reed, because this will help you in here so that you don't have the tension that can come from that. I've definitely seen kids, it's usually young people I see it in, where it can really seize up in their throat. Yeah, and he says, I don't know how people use their throat. I tried it to see it and it felt like I was going to gag. Yes, it is very challenging. I'm doing it here as an example without a clarinet. Imagine, with the clarinet, it's, that was tonguing. It's really, really challenging for me to do. Another one that people will do is a k sound at the back of their throat too. So for those of you that are teachers on here, watch for that with your students too, the k, k, k. It's part of double tonguing actually. So if you do double tonguing, tick, 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 like that, then the k comes in there naturally. But if that's the only way of articulating, double check on that one too. Once again, it is slower. It is hard to do that quickly, and then it can lead to tension, and tension can really spread through your body. It'll stay in your throat, but it can also move into your shoulders. And so that's one of those things that we want to pay attention to and avoid, is that kind of tension. Yes. So, but going back to your original observation that you'll have to, sort of remind yourself to do the articulations on the B flat. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It's possible that I've done it before. I've missed it too. And Eddie continues to say, and so much back pressure from the reed too. I really don't know why you want to hurt yourself like that. LOL. I don't think people want to do it. I think that I don't think they know they're doing it. Usually when I talk to people about it, they're like, whoa, I didn't know I was doing that. And it can be a very hard habit to break. And I think it starts in the beginning, because when a lot of us have started on the clarinet, we kind of started in band. And if we started in band, there's a band director working with 30 to 50 kids, right? And so they kind of just toss these clarinets out, or all the instruments out, and they work with everybody, but they can't really spend a lot of time with every single person. This is why it's really helpful to have a private teacher that can catch these things. And if you can catch it in the beginning, it's great. You've got it fixed. It's just harder to fix it later on. So with the tonguing in the beginning, I try and get my students tonguing right away, the very first lesson. And so the note, or the song that I teach for that is Hot Cross Buns. It's a great first clarinet song because you're playing an E. So that means you've stabilized the clarinet. You've got your thumb and registry key and you're holding the E. So you've got this little pinch going on with thumb and index finger. And it's just E, D, C. And then you repeat it, E, D, C. And then you tongue the C, ta, 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 ta. So it's a great way to introduce the articulation, D, 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 E, D, C. And it works really, really well. I'm a huge fan of that, getting that started right away, getting those articulations going right from the beginning. But even then, I will get a master of the glottal stop. I will find there'll be somebody that can circumvent everything, and they can do it so well that I can't even tell. And then it's it rears its head when they start being tired here, or they can't articulate really fast, or they can't articulate in different styles. So it's hard to tongue with a legato articulation, or to get that very dainty Mozartian or staccato that you can get. So yeah, so for all you clarinet teachers out there, watch out for that. For all you clarinetists out there, watch out for that too. You had a teacher that made his tongue and blow and not make the reed vibrate. Wait, what? Wait. Oh, I know that one. Okay, so that one is really fun. So I do it without the mouth, or without the clarinet. And so what you're going to do is you're going to set your embouchure right here, bring the clarinet up to your top teeth, or your mouthpiece up to your top teeth, and you're going to blow. And then you're going to hold that reed shut with your tongue, but you keep driving the air through. So we're going to start here. And then you release it, and you really can feel that power, because articulations are about interrupting the reed vibration. It really is less about hitting that reed with the tongue, even though we spent all this time talking about it. What the action is stopping the vibration. So that's why it's really cool. You can actually play with all these different kinds of articulation, like a painter with a brush. Like, how are we going to tongue this reed to see what kind of sound we can get? That stop reed technique is really great for this cool fingering technique. Like, if you have really fast articulated passages and your fingers and your tongue aren't lining up, you can use that one. So let's just start on C right here. So I'm going to do what Eddie's technique is. Oh my gosh, everybody's here. Shane's here. Hi. So you're going to blow the air. I'm going to blow the air, and I'm going to stop the reed from vibrating with my tongue, just like we did before. That's step one. So it's like this. Okay, now while the tongue is holding the reed down, while I'm stopping it, I'm gonna lift up my C finger for D, but I'm not gonna play the D. I'm just lifting up my finger. It sounds like this. I'm still holding that reed down, and then you release after you move, like this. So that helps you get those fingers lined up with your tongue, and it helps with articulating fast. Eddie says no dinner for you, LOL. This is true. Everybody shows up at the last minute. This happens all the time. So I do want to go spend a little bit of time with my family. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. It was really nice to chat with you and answer questions, and like I tried to say earlier, see some familiar faces. And yes, Stoyan, this is clarinet, and now I'm headed out, and goodbye. Have a lovely night, and happy clarinetting.